It's the Political Free Agents podcast, and we're back for our Sunday episode. What's going on, Mike? How you doing, brother?
Doing well. Beautiful Sunday in Texas. Can't complain.
Yeah, man. I even though I haven't been outside, I did look out the window. It does look kind of nice out there.
Man. Yeah, it's only 96 degrees.
Yeah, only 96. What's interesting, I have two friends, actually, two people I work with that are looking to move to Texas. One is in California and one is in Arizona. And both of them were like, man, it looks like you can get so much land or a house in Texas compared to here. And then both of them came back the same day and were like, it's very humid there. I was like, yeah, man, you just got to deal with it. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, especially if you're going to try and live in someplace like Houston. Whew, man, it's a swamp. It's a swamp in Houston when it comes to humidity. It's crazy.
And they both were looking at Houston, and they both were talking about the humidity. So it's going to be interesting to see if they actually move here. Coming from Arizona, it is super dry. So they wouldn't, that friend particularly, Vic, wouldn't be, comfortable initially dealing with all this humidity because it's so different. California is not dry like that. Well, LA specifically is not dry like that. So, he may be doing a little bit better. We'll see.
Well, it's not dry. It's not dry like that, but it's nowhere close to Houston, Texas, I'll tell you right now.
No, it's not. I actually had a friend who was in Arizona. They were looking to move to Dallas, and they came down. They went through San Antonio and then drove up to Dallas, and they were so sick the entire time, like just the pollen and all this sort of stuff, like because it's not dry. And so like all of those things impacted his wife, and she was just done the entire trip. And then the humidity. I've had two friends come here with the humidity, and they're like, man, I couldn't breathe. So it's like, it's Texas. It is what it is, man. So we were just cracking up in the pre-show because I realized today is the 27th. That means Tuesday is the first presidential debate. And I mean, I'm completely tickled, bro. Like, I'm so excited to see what happens here. And as Mike said earlier, like everybody's tuning in for the train wreck. And I mean, what's your prediction for this, Mike? Like, how bad does this thing get?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just going to be funny. It's going to be funny to watch Trump go after Biden, and I'm wondering how much drugs they're going to have to give Biden for him to be able to stay awake and not say something off the reservation, but.
You're not going to be able to stop it, though. See, the problem with Biden is, like, with his past, I don't know what he called it, but I know he had like that strong stutter. And so like my son, they say it's not a stutter, but he stammers with his words, and his speech pathologist says that his mind is moving too fast. So my assumption is that's what Biden's dealing with too, is that Biden's mind moves too fast for his words to come out properly. And when that happens, all things are off, right? Like what did he call the troops this week, Mike?
You stupid bastards or something like that. I mean,
yeah, he told them to clap for something.
But clap. You're supposed to clap, you stupid bastards, or something like that. I mean, it's just hilarious. Here's the thing. I think Trump, like, so Biden, you can say whatever you want about Biden's, like, his ability to kind of ad lib or do town hall type events, but most people will agree that when it comes to like one-on-one debating, he's not that bad at it. Now
Right.
he's a lot older now, but I think it'll depend on how well he can move Trump to get like to kind of poke him into these like emotional responses. I think if he pokes and he pushes Trump to try and act like try and act like a bully, so to speak.
Right.
Then Trump could easily come off looking very. Trump could look weak if he doesn't bring any substance to the debate. I think Trump's going to go after Joe Biden's record hard, especially when it comes to the crime bill that he passed in the past, his support for the wars, and his record under the Obama presidency. I think Trump's got a lot of stuff that he's going to hit Biden on. But it's just like I said. There's not really going to be any substance to what this debate's going to be about. It's going to be more about people tuning in to see like who can screw up the most and how bad the screw ups are going to be. And it's all bad reality television that people are going to tune in to watch. So. I mean, I'm excited. I can't wait because it's not like I like either one of these two guys. So this is gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to watch to see how bad the 2020 presidential shit show is right now. To watch these two guys go up against each other and talk about pretty much absolutely nothing and not give you any idea of how they're gonna fix anything important.
Right.
And then see what happens on election day. I would love to see what happens whenever they talk about this whole potential election fraud issue. I can't wait to see what happens when each of them talk about that, if they are even going to talk about that. I'm sure the moderators will bring that issue up. Like they'll probably ask some question like, will you abide by, the American people's decision, win or lose? And I'm sure they're going to give the typical answer like, I think it was somebody on Biden's team was asked the same or a similar question, and they said that they would abide by a free and fair election results.
Yeah, I think Biden actually said that or something similar, but yeah.
Yeah, they're just kind of wordsmithing around the idea of if there's any hint of election fraud, then they're basically not gonna concede. So we'll see. I'm sure there's a number of different things they're going to get asked that aren't going to be a surprise. I want to see what they say when it comes.
Yeah, I think Trump will definitely try to go after Biden. He's already I'm subscribed to the Trump emails, and so I can see what they're worried about because they start like hammering that narrative over email. And we'll touch on part of it in a moment and when it comes to the Supreme Court, but they were definitely concerned about like the money raised through the Supreme Court. Because of Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing, there was like I don't know, I think it was like 40 million or something ridiculous raised in like 24 hours. It was something crazy. And so they started like hammering email after email after email, trying to get people to basically give them money, to kind of make a statement that the pick of Amy Coney Barrett had the same sort of visceral, feedback from a money standpoint. So I mean, I have so many emails from them. I'm looking at them right now of them just emailing about the Supreme Court stuff. I mean, I'm talking like over 10 just about that part alone, not even about the money aspect, just about Amy Coney Barrett. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays a part as well. But as I said last week, I don't give presidents credit for that. They're not doing anything, you know. This is a Congress thing. All he does is put forth the name they tell him. So, uh, from that, I do think that he's going to go after the crime bill, which is, it's funny to me that the Republicans are using the crime bill so much. It's like they keep changing who's responsible for the crime bill. Because in 2016, it was all Hillary, who wasn't actually in office, but she had a quote, the super predator aspect that they attached to her as giving her some culpability of the crime bill, which she pushed for it. So she has some for sure. But now it's Biden. But Biden actually had a hand in the crime bill. And I've heard his defense of the crime bill before, in terms of him not being for some of the bad parts of it, but for some of the good. And they kind of met in the middle sort of thing. So we'll see how he frames that, because I think that's going to be a very important topic. Because I don't know how many people know of his, like how deep his involvement was with that 94 crime bill.
Well, he's been on record. He's been on record multiple times saying that it was his bill. Like he architected that thing. Like that was his thing. He took full ownership over that bill. So it's very convenient that he would say, well, there were the things in it that I didn't like. Those are the bad things. Like those the bad things I obviously didn't like. But all the good things in it, those are the things that I support. So don't blame me for the bad things in it, because I obviously didn't support those. But even though I was the one who was architecting the whole damn thing, supposedly. So it's hilarious. That's his response.
Definitely, that's definitely part of what I think will definitely be a part of his narrative there. To combat that part. But I mean, you've seen like Trump talking about what do you say? In 47 months, I've done more than Biden did in 47 years or something like that. So I'm sure that narrative is going to get hammered home quite heavily as well. And then just the general stuff, you're going to hear a bunch of Trump, touting, I did this, that, and that. Like he's going to go through his record and, greatest jobs growth and all this sort of thing. He's been the best president for African Americans. I'm pretty sure he's going to come up with that lie again. And so, it's going to be interesting to see what narratives they push. But so in terms of winning and losing, most people base it on zingers. So who can get the best zinger? And I have no expectation that Biden will, Biden will land a zinger, none at all, because when he tries,
I think Trump will come away for sure.
Oh yeah, when he tries to land zingers, that's when you get things like "you ain't black if you're not voting for me, you ain't black" sort of thing. That's him trying to land a zinger sort of thing and be funny in a moment that he's not. And whatever the other one was that he said as well. When he tries to be funny and land zingers, he blows it. Like that's not him, but he tries. And so I think he's gonna definitely step his foot into that. But I think if Biden just looks just competent, right? Like the bar is so freaking low, right? Like I think if he just looks competent and not aloof, I think he can walk away with this pretty easily, because I don't think Trump is going to bring much substance. He's just not a substance guy, right? So I don't think he's going to come up with too much substance in that case. So, but
we should play a drinking game. Every time Biden says, "Come on, man, or let's be
Look,
for real, or
yeah.
like for real, or something like he
Okay,
says that
look.
all the time.
He cracks
Okay,
me up
yeah.
whenever he's in the middle of a sentence and then he just stops and he's like, okay, look, and then he goes in another direction. It's like, oof, squirrel. Uh, so that's gonna be funny. That's gonna be quite funny.
I think Trump will fairly easily walk away with the win. I don't know the perceived win. I just think there's I don't think they're going to be dumb enough to go after the Amy Coney Barrett issue. At least Biden. I don't think Biden will try and get Trump on that. I mean, Trump's response would be fairly predictable and really bad for Biden because all Trump has to do is say the only reason why you guys are care right now is because we control the Senate and Democrats changed the rules when it came to the supermajority. So now you guys are complaining that I can exercise my constitutional authority and we don't have to worry about a supermajority because of what you guys did and wanted back when you guys changed the rules. Like I forget what year it was, but I just don't. Yeah, I don't think they're going to go after. I don't think. Well, it'd be dumb. It'd be dumb because he's gonna have an answer for that fairly easy. Trump does a good job of deflecting and making you trying to make you look stupid.
Right.
So,
and that's the thing. Like I've said for the longest, like with reporters and everybody, like they need to press Trump. He's so good at like deflecting and changing the topic. They got to press him for an actual answer to a question, and that's going to be the hard part because he's going to do the whole hands going around in circles. Look, like I got this, and done, and the Democrats and all, like make him focus and give some substance, and that's where Trump could fail. But that all depends on if they can try to force him to give substance. I just don't know if they can.
The one question that they're gonna pound him for, I guarantee, and we'll have to see how he handles it, is that tape of him talking about downplaying the virus. So they're gonna pound him for that, and
yeah, they should too.
It's gonna be but we're gonna see exactly how he answers that on a national stage, and we're gonna see how Biden responds to it too. I think that's probably out of any question that he could be asked, that's probably the one that is his chink in the armor when it comes to the debate. I don't see any other question about any other topic being asked that he can't deflect on and kind of worm his way through. I think that one's gonna be the hardest one for him to tackle. So we'll see how he handles that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of Democrats and this whole Ginsburg thing, I had a pollster. Actually, I had two pollsters hit me up on Saturday. And so one of them texted me and he said, "Hi, this is Pete with Let America Vote. Justice Ginsburg knew our democracy works best when everyone has a voice and a vote, no matter who they are and where they come from. Do you believe Congress should wait to vote on a Supreme Court nominee until after Inauguration Day?" And so I was like, oh, okay, if you're really interested in the answer, I just told him, nah, they're doing what the Dems would do if they could. Dems played a game and lost. See the nuclear option. Government sucks. Shrug emoji. He was like, okay, thank you for your time. So I think this is largely like obviously people are up in arms and people have their, they have their right to be concerned about what Amy Coney Barrett will come in and do and where she'll vote and stuff like that. I mean, that's the whole point of the Supreme Court, but there's nothing you can do about it. Like this is what we said last week. Like there's nothing they can do about it. They can't stop it, no matter how fast they want to go, no matter how badly the Republicans look like hypocrites right now. They can't stop it. Even Amy Coney Barrett herself in 2016 was out on the media circuit saying how it shouldn't be done and we should wait for the election. So, I mean, even the judge herself has tape of being a hypocrite in this, but it doesn't stop them. No, none of these politicians care about looking like a hypocrite. They care about their win. That's it. They just want to get their win, and they're not going to do whatever they can to get this win. So they're actually going to vote her in on, well, I say vote her in because they're supposed to have the hearing. I think on October the 8th, I think it was, something like that. And so right around early October, they're going to go ahead and have the hearing, and I'm pretty sure that day she'll be confirmed. So, um, I mean, they might as well just move on to the next outrage because there's no way around that. Don't think you're going to get into that hearing and hear something new that they're going to press her about and her record. It's just not going to happen. I don't care what she's done in her past or her present. She is going to be confirmed. Like just
and even the Republicans like Mitt Romney who at first I guess were on the camp in the camp of wait until the election's over. They've all changed their tune because they know you don't want to be those couple of Republicans that screwed up a Supreme Court nomination for your party. So I think Mittens Romney wised up pretty quick. You're right. I don't think they're not gonna have a problem confirming it. Like I said, I think the best thing you can hope for is some sort of something else in the media cycle that could kind of take precedent over it. You know what I mean? Just kind of let it happen in the background instead of kind of being front page news.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw this hilarious ad about Lindsey Graham. So Lindsey Graham had, I don't know, he was in some like, it wasn't like a regular interview. It was like a, I don't know, 30-minute, hour long, sit down on a stage, and they were talking, and they basically, like, he basically told them in 2018, said, if a seat comes open in Trump's last year, we will not confirm them. He said, you can mark my words, we will not, and he gave his reasoning. And so, it's hilarious because Lindsey Graham's opponent got a huge windfall of some of that money that was raised after Ginsburg passed, because all of that stuff came out. And so the Lincoln Project, which is the Republicans who were basically fighting against the Republicans that aren't doing their job, basically, they had this hilarious.
All the neocon side of the Republican Party. That's who the Lincoln Project is. all the old Bush people, the war hawks.
Yes, they do hilarious ads though, and I'm interested because so liberals are really liking the Lincoln Project, right? Because they're attacking Republicans, right? So it gives them meat, right, to use. But I'm interested to see whenever the Lincoln Project starts going after Democrats, how much they'll be sharing those same videos. But the Lincoln Project had a hilarious video about Lindsey Graham, and it was, so, like the Save a Kid in Africa type videos where it's got the slow music and the woman talking over it. And, for $10 a day, you can save, this child. But they put Lindsey Graham in it. And it was just absolutely hilarious the way they did it, because he's being outspent. And he was on some TV show or something saying, like, if we could just get, I think he said like half of your audience to give $10, like that would help plug the gap. And so they got like all this audio and stuff. Man, it's funny. The Lincoln Project cracks me up. Midas Touch does too, even though they go a little left, a little too leftish for me sometimes. But they crack me up. So, but Amy Coney Barrett is the pick. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. It's funny to see Marco Rubio was out because apparently I still don't understand why people are talking about Catholicism. But I guess apparently somebody somewhere attacked Catholicism or something. I guess I don't know. And Marco Rubio is out talking about when the moment we don't protect religious freedom, we're lost as a nation, sort of thing, or whatever. Not his exact words,
You
but
didn't
kind of his
you
point.
didn't see you didn't see the story, like you didn't see the multiple stories about Christians being arrested for having church services outside without masks on. You didn't
Yeah,
see
no,
those?
I did see that, but I think Marco was talking
I think
about
it's
the Catholicism stuff.
like
Um,
just like because Amy Coney Barrett's Catholic. Is that what you're talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
That's what he was talking
Well,
about. So it
all
was
right.
just
I
funny
thought
because
I thought it was in reference to the Christians being arrested for holding mass outside or whatever. Well,
yeah, no, I saw that one. It's funny.
that's
Uh,
crazy.
so with that one, the funny thing to me is that the same people who would normally be like back the blue are now like the cops are out of control. And it's like, wait, what? Like I thought we are supposed to back the blue. The blue's just doing their job. But yeah, they I don't know. I didn't really even look into the story to be honest, because I was just like, well, this the typical stuff that they've been doing. They did it, arrested a guy solo on a beach in California as well. And he was the only one for miles, but he didn't have a mask on and he was out running or something and they arrested him. And so, like this is the police state. Like this is what it is. Like we've been trying to say, like the cops out of
It's abuse of
control.
power. It's abuse of power. I mean, that's why I keep telling. That's why I keep telling people. This whole conversation needs to be framed as abuse of power.
Yep.
It's nothing more than that.
Yep. That's
You
why
know.
with the George Floyd case and whatnot, that's why I framed it as government agents killed a man. Like that's the point that people need to get into and stop looking at it as white cop, black victim, or whatever the case may be, black cop, white churchgoer sort of thing. Uh, and so if you look at it like that, it's a different perspective and it gives you the understanding that this is, as you say, this is an abuse of power. One of the women got tased. And so,
At
obviously
a football game, yeah.
yeah, black folk out here, they crack me up. Black folk out here, like all she had to do was comply. That's it. Just put a mask on and comply. But she got tased twice. And so, it's funny to see, like, because whenever those narratives get, flipped, now it's like, well, what is your stance still the same? Are they wrong now? Right. Like, so you definitely have to be consistent on that perspective. But so interesting news cycle though, man. Interesting news cycle. So this week we had the big news of the case with involving the Breonna Taylor murder, where she was shot in her apartment. We haven't dug into like the full details of this case, largely because, and I've kind of stayed away from it because I wanted to know more. Really, we had some things out. I wanted to see what they actually said, like what the result was going to be with the cops and things like that. One of the cops that fired was, excuse me, one of the cops that shot was fired in June because of his recklessness. Recklessness, but the shooting basically happened early this year, and it's been 6 months so far. So this was March. It's been 6 months. Now we found out. I think we had mentioned last week that there was a $12 million wrongful death suit that was paid out by the city to her family. And then this week we found out that they're not going to charge any of the cops. None of the cops are going to get any charges for the specific shooting of Breonna Taylor, but one of them is going to be charged for shooting into the wall of a neighbor's house. He's going to be charged with wanton endangerment. which is one step above a hunting violation. So it's not, it's pretty much nothing. So the cops
You
basically,
know what this reminds? You know what this reminds me of, John?
what's that?
This reminds me of a bank like J.P. Morgan getting fined like $1 billion for the criminal fraud that they conduct on a daily basis, and get slapped on the wrist with $1 billion fine when they make like $150 billion a year in profit. Like,
Right.
it's like, what? Okay, wow. You get a little slap, you get a little $1 billion slap on the wrist. They basically write it into their business model to get fined without having to worry about any actual like criminal repercussions for the shady stuff that they do as a bank. So it kind of reminds me of the same thing.
Absolutely. And this money comes from the taxpayers, right? So this is not even the police
Right.
department taking a hit. This is the people of Louisville, that are actually taking this hit. And so it's like, at some point, like there's talk of like moving that cost to the cops, like your pension fund or whatever the case may be. That's where you pay that out of. You don't pay that or
Now
the
that would be smart. That would be smart. If you, that would be, I would guarantee you that would be a real quick fix for police. Well, it would either be a quick fix to right the wrongs, or it'd be a quick fix for people to cover things up a lot more. Because if you make the penalty a financial hit to police retirement or police pension funds, then either the police departments will internally fix stuff that needs to get fixed, or they're going to they'll cover so many things up so that the pension funds don't take a hit. But I don't know which one it would be, but I guarantee you'd have a better shot at fixing things if they were on the hook financially for this kind of stupid stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so they're, supposedly looking at police reform and things like that. And, that's always like, we're going to look into these things, blah, blah, blah. Like it's always the response. But, I believe the police chief was fired. One of the cops was fired in like June. And the other two are still on the force. But the facts of the case are very wishy-washy because this week they came out and made the announcement, and we kind of knew what was going to happen because they came out a week before the announcement and stated, kind of like, hey, everybody stay calm. You can peacefully protest, but let's all not destroy stuff. They kind of like set the stage of, you kind of knew what was coming. And so they had the grand jury come up, and the grand jury reviewed the case, and the grand jury said no indictment. Now, they don't need a grand jury. They could have done this without a grand jury, but I think that was their first cop out. The second was they utilized a witness. His name is Sarpi, who was actually there to pick up his daughter, who said that he heard the cops knock, or excuse me, the cops announce themselves. He said that a month after the shooting. Well, a week after the shooting, he said, no, I didn't hear them announce themselves at all, along with 11 other witnesses who said that the cops did not announce themselves. But a month later, he stated, when he talked to, I think it was the police chief or somebody there, I think her name was Sylvie. She actually interviewed him over the phone for about 7 minutes. And he said, I really don't remember, and he was just kind of like equivocating, just kind of like, yeah, I do think they did announce themselves. I think they said it's the police, and then he said, but it's been a while now. I really don't remember. That's their one witness that stated the cops did things right. Well, you have the investigators who came after the shooting. I believe the FBI rolled up as well, and they were stating how poorly the crime scene was being managed. Two of the people who were a part of the shooting, the cops, were actually in the apartment again around the evidence. And, they're like, man, get them out of here. What's going on? And one of them was walking around with a rifle over his shoulder, outside. One of them went and started interviewing neighbors, and so they completely broke protocol. They're supposed to be escorted after that by, one of their like peers or whatever they call this, a certain unit. It's like PIU, I think is the initial acronym. But they weren't being escorted by anybody. They were just roaming around, interviewing witnesses, and doing all that. And then the Louisville Police Department is saying that there were no body cams, but photos of the incident beforehand show that there were body cams, but they say there's no footage that exists. So that footage is gone. But the people, I believe it was the FBI who showed up, had body cam, and they showed that the boyfriend, Walker, who actually was the one that shot shot at the cops, his arrest, basically, when they arrested him, and they were threatening to sick a dog on him, threatening him that he was going to live, spend the rest of his life in jail. He initially lied and said Breonna shot the gun. And he said that later on he came out and said, no, I did. I was just afraid because of, everything that was going on. So when the cops actually bust into the apartment, Breonna and her boyfriend Walker were in the bedroom, and they come walking out, and, they're yelling, "Who is it?" And then next thing you know, they heard the door get bust down because they had the battering ram thing where they knocked the door down. And so he fires a shot. He says he fired it into the floor. The cop said that Walker shot one of the cops in the leg. Well, the ballistic report came out and said that they could not conclude that that was Walker's gun. Louisville stated that all the cops had 40s. They had 40 cals. And Walker had a 9. Well, it turns out one of the cops, one of them that shot a lot of times into the apartments, he had a 9. 2 of the others had a 40, had 40 cals. And so the idea that 32 shots were fired at this time, Walker fired 1. They fired 32. 6 of them hit Breonna. 1 of them hit the cop. They're saying it's Walker's, but the ballistic report says it's not. So it's likely friendly fire, either from himself or one of the cops.
Do you understand how many? 30 rounds is a lot of rounds.
32
like
rounds.
30 rounds is a lot of rounds. If somebody shoots 1 round at you and 32 rounds go off, something went extremely wrong. Extremely wrong. Like,
dude, one of the cops shot a full 60.
That's what, let's see, most mags.
That's a mag.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, most mags carry, the standard mag carries 9 rounds. I don't know what a police issue pistol carries when it comes to magazine capacity. I'll have to ask the wifey, but I mean, that's 3 magazines. That's at least 3 magazines of ammo being fired for 1 round going off, right? Like, that's extremely excessive.
Seriously.
I mean,
and if it's true that Walker shot 1 and it went into the floor, like 1 to 32 is like, God, dog. And so the one of them or at least 1 or 2 of the shots or whatever flew into a neighbor's wall, and that's the wanton endangerment. Not that you just fired 32 shots. Like,
yeah, because you have to know. I mean, you're taught. You have to know what you're shooting at. You can't just go. You can't just. Somebody fires a round, and then all of a sudden you pull your gun and you start spraying everywhere. Like, that's just not. If that's what happened,
one of them then the patio door.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what happened, then on negligence alone, when it comes to handling a firearm, how to react, situational awareness, where you're shooting, what you're shooting at, they should be fired just for that. Like, just for that. I mean, I can't even tell you the kind of training we used to have to go through in the Marine Corps, where you would get your ass handed to you for one round. If we were going through a shoot house and you had one stray round that didn't hit what you were shooting at, you got your ass handed to you. So, I mean, that kind of weapons discharging is like, it's hard to comprehend how 32 rounds go off like that. I would love to know what time span that those 32 rounds went off in. Like, because did somebody fire a magazine and reload a magazine? I mean, did anybody do any mag reloads? Like, what kind of? I mean, that's just crazy. How many officers were there again?
It was 3 of them. There was actually, I think, 7 total, but 3 of them were the ones that discharged. It was one shot 16, one shot 10, one shot 6. Those are the 3 cops the totals that they shot.
Yeah, so that's a full magazine each. I mean,
it's crazy. And so the part that's obviously her death is the horrific part of this entire case. What makes it worse is the person that they were looking for didn't live there. They ended up doing a full sweep of the entire house and found no drugs, no money, no evidence of any wrongdoing whatsoever. Her herself, she was an EMT. Her ex-boyfriend was a drug dealer. They actually arrested him that night at another house. I don't think it was too far away. And they did find drugs and whatnot at his house. But the person they were going after was him. And they executed a successful arrest of him. And they found what they were looking for. Them going after Breonna's apartment was because they saw him pick up a package at her house. And it was like a USPS package. And so they stated that they called the USPS and confirmed that he was receiving mail at Taylor's house. They were still friends. They weren't boyfriend, girlfriend anymore, but they were still friends. And the USPS, they came out and said, no, the cops never confirmed with us whether or not he was receiving mail there. So this is why it's like, this is starting to look very cover-up-ish, right? Like, everything you're stating as evidence on why you went there in the first place is not valid. He didn't live there. You said you confirmed that he received mail there, but that's being denied. And the only thing you have is him picking up one package that you saw him do in the front of, and they thought that package was drugs.
So this whole thing just reeks of, police incompetence and negligence in the first place. I mean, I remember the days when, like, let's say they legitimately thought this guy was a drug dealer dealing drugs out of Breonna Taylor's apartment, right? Just wait for the guy to come out of the apartment. Right. Like, the guy's got to leave the place at some point, right? Wait until he walks out of the freaking door, walks down to his car, and then arrest his ass, and then conduct the search, your warrant or your search of the apartment, instead of busting in the freaking door, not knowing who's there at whatever time, not announcing yourself
1 a.m.
on a no-knock warrant at 1 a.m., right? Like everybody wants to be SWAT these days. Everybody's acting like they're freaking, they're in a war zone breaking down a house in the middle of Iraq while somebody's sleeping. It's like, it would be much easier. It would save a lot of money for people in general, right? Because now, like, if you do it the way I was describing, where, let's say it's 1 p.m, the guy goes to the gas station, you arrest him at his car. You don't have to break the door down. You don't have to throw a flashbang somewhere into some baby's crib, or whatever. I've heard stories like that where, like, cops will throw flashbangs into fucking baby cribs and kill somebody. Like, how is police? It's crazy how policing has changed to the point to where, now it's like they're treating everything like it's a war zone. Like we can break anything we want, blow anything up, shoot anybody that we want to, conduct warrants any way we want to, and if something bad happens, well, it's not our fault.
Right.
We're doing our job.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. They are militarizing the police in this country to a degree that it's just. I mean, I mean, 30 years ago. Can you imagine? 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people in America would just be in awe of how things are today when it comes to how police work.
Yeah.
Or policing works. I mean, think of the days like when Lethal Force came out, right? Like when the movie Lethal Force came out, like the way that policing was portrayed back then compared to now is just insane. Like completely insane.
I completely agree, man. And I've had this conversation.
Or lethal weapon, not lethal force. I don't know why I said
I've had this conversation with people, and they say that, well, the criminals are walking around with these guns, the police need these tanks and this sort of thing, and blah blah blah. And and I understand like force met with force sort of thing, but like their tactics are my concern, right? Like their tactics are the problem. Is that whenever you give somebody that sort of weaponry, what they're gonna want to use it, right? Like they're gonna want to roll up in the big tank, truck, whatever the thing is called, and so they're gonna want to come up in those things, and they're gonna want to have these things. And I've seen, like these small departments. Like there was one town that was like 10,000 people, and you would have sworn just based on the picture that they were at war. Like the amount of stuff they had was ridiculous. It's like, dude, come on, and their department has a bunch of issues with abuse of force. And so it's like, yeah, like I support cops, right? Like that's not an easy job, man. Like I get it. It's not an easy job. And it's a very dangerous job. And I support them. I value their life as much as I value the citizens they're policing. But at some point, America has to look at this and be like, yeah, no, this doesn't work. It can't just be, I back the blue because they're blue. It can't be. I look at it the same way with racial issues. I don't back black people just because they're black. No, if they wrong, they wrong. Like, call them out.
Yeah,
and I think that's the problem, man.
I was at a customer's house a week or two ago, and I wear my thin blue line mask. Life's tough. I support my wife.
Right.
And I came up. The customer was a firefighter, and he's like, do you actually back the blue, or is that just something that you wear? And I'm like, I 100%. I told him, I was like, I 100% support good cops.
Right.
Keyword is good.
That's
good
the
cops.
distinction, right? Exactly.
Yeah. And he's like, all right, that's fair. I mean,
yeah.
Of course, we support good cops, but and there's a lot of good cops that are taking part in the militarization of police, and they really don't even realize what's going on. It's been a slow, steady creep of militarization when it comes to police forces.
Exactly. The bull frog
it's been happening for
analogy.
A couple decades now.
Yep. Bull
That's
sitting,
right. Yep.
Frog sitting in
the
cold water,
yep.
Turn it to hot, the frog never leaves. And that's basically all it's been the entire time. So the interesting thing too, man, is that with all of this that's going on, just seeing people defend like some of the indefensible stuff, right? And I think if people just would stop, right? Like, I don't care what it is. I don't care who it is. Like, matter of fact, after the attorney general, or whatever he is, came out and basically stated that there was no charges, that night there were, or I think it was that night, there were protests, and, apparently 2 cops were shot. I don't know the details of it, But you'll never see me out here saying they got what they deserved or something. Like, that's just ludicrous, right? Like, you don't defend that sort of stuff unless there was some facts of the case that, you know, they got shot at and they shot back or something. They're defending their own life or something, right? But from my
Yeah,
understanding,
they cheapen the move. They cheapen the movement. I mean,
right?
a real response would have been like some sort of like policy response where enough people got together and got something changed. Like, okay, well, if they don't want to prosecute these guys for things like this, then at the very least, we're going to change the law to where taxpayers aren't going to be the ones on the hook when it comes to the money. It's going to be the police department or the pension funds. And so you can, like, if you can organize people to support legislation like that and get something like that passed, then that's real change, right? But burning something down and rioting or killing cops, like that's not going to do anything to fix the problem.
Yeah, and there always are those people that are working on that side of the fence as well. Obviously, the news is going to take, you know, the other side, the very violent side. They're going to take that, and that's the part you're going to get highlighted. But there definitely are people working on those things behind the scenes. But I mean, I'm just not for that stuff. Like, I get it, I understand, you know, protests and riots are the voice for the voiceless sort of thing, as Martin Luther King stated, because that sort of stuff was happening back in his day too. You had King that was doing the peaceful protests, and then you had this whole other side, and there were like 3 major riots the year the Voting Rights Act was signed, or one of those were signed. I think it was 65 or 68 when all those riots were happening. So you always had that element of like the very violent side that's happening, and then the peaceful side, and it's those two sides that end up ultimately, you know, coming together as a way to make change. But I'm definitely with you.
Yeah, but how many of those people that are out there rioting and protesting, how many of those people could have just as easily been out knocking on doors, having conversations with people and saying, we're trying to pass some legislation that would, you know, that because they're not prosecuting these officers for this, you know, this, what we consider a crime, then at least we're going to make it to where, you know, you, the taxpayer, the person whose house we're at, isn't on the hook for their mistakes. And so, like, instead of protesting, those people could just as easily be going around and having conversations with people to try and get some legislation passed, but they spend their time, you know, running around burning something or destroying something or shooting people or whatever. It's like just totally counterproductive.
Yeah, and then the thing I don't like about it, like, I'm cool with protesting. Once it goes too far, that's whenever I have a problem with it. And I think the problem comes in that you have these outside agitators. And I don't mean outside of the city. There are people who are in the city that are agitators as well, but just these people that are coming down there for that purpose, right? And when I say outside, I mean outside of the people who are there to protest what is really there. There, as you said it actually perfectly a while back, man. Some people just want to see the world burn, and those protests are the absolute perfect chance for them to go out there and just wreak havoc, right? And so I wish there could be like a megaphone, man, that, you know, just kind of got out there and just kind of like, hey, people, let's, as you say, let's organize against them. It's an election year. Let's organize against them, and let's like make some change happen, right? You know, have some sit-ins at your Congress people's office, whatever the case may be, to get some laws passed to fix this, because it's just going to keep happening. It just is. Yeah. Anyway, any closing thoughts, Mike?
Oh man, I'm just looking forward to this debate. I'm just looking forward to this debate. You know, this is like playoffs. This is like playoffs for me. You know, some people wait all year. This is like hockey playoffs for me. I just can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, man. I'm so interested to see I'm just so interested to see the narratives that come out of it, right? Like, it's like the State of the Union sort of thing, where people are there just to rah cheer sort of thing for their team. But I'm just interested to see the narratives come out of these debates and see who breaks first. I think that's going to be the key. Who breaks first? Who is the one that lets the other side get them flustered and say something dumb? And then after that, who breaks the most? So it's
Yeah,
interesting.
spoiler alert. MSNBC and CNN will say that Joe Biden won, and Fox News will say that Trump won.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Fox is gonna come out. They're gonna have Hannity live. He's gonna be like, he was so presidential. And then Eric Trump's gonna come out and my father did, or no, he always says President Trump. He keeps it formal. President Trump
Anderson,
showed tonight why he's the best choice for America. Like, and then
I'm sure
CNN's,
Anderson Cooper is going to be slobbing all over Joe Biden
oh no, you're gonna
somehow,
have
some way.
oh shoot, what's his name? Man, he looks like my kid's grandfather, and I forget his name, but the guy that black dude, bald head on CNN, he helped with the First Step Act. God
You
dang,
talking about with glasses, Van Jones?
yeah, Van Jones. Yeah, Van Jones is gonna be
Yeah,
out. He's gonna have his hot take, where he's gonna break down the significance of, the historical significance of something that Trump said. Like, it's so predictable.
God. They'll probably roll out somebody like Michael Eric Dyson to analyze this too. I mean,
Oh man, if they
it's gonna
do,
be funny.
I need a thesaurus if they do. I'm a
Oh
thesaurus.
my God, that
That
guy
dude.
loves coming up with words that most people have never heard of just to make his
Yeah,
point.
yeah, man. If man, like when he come out, you be like, hold on, I got to think about what you just say. And he talks so fast that it's like, wait, what was that word? So it's gonna be interesting, man. We're definitely gonna have some fun following up on the debates after this. We'll have to chop up some clips. I think the debate's like an hour and a half. We'll have to chop up some clips, or either do a live stream. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out what we're gonna do. But we are the political free agents. We do this thing twice a week, unless like Wednesday, we all forget because hey, work. We all looked up at 8 o'clock and was like, "Oh crap, it's Wednesday." And Chris didn't even realize it was Wednesday. He thought it was Tuesday. So anyway, we try to do this thing every Sunday, 2 p.m., Wednesday, 7 p.m. You can catch us at politicalfreeagents.com. You can view all the links to all our social medias are there. It's at PFA Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Please go to our YouTube and hit like, hit subscribe. We thank those faithful listeners that are there. They get the notification every time we go live. And, loving the feedback that we're seeing from people on the shows and the episodes, starting to see it branch out a little bit. You can also catch us on Amazon Music now. So Amazon has their podcast directory. So you can find us there and everywhere else that podcast exists. We are the Political Free Agents, and we're out.